All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. In this video here, it was kind of inspired by, once again, one of the, whatever you want to call them, whatever term it is, troll, heckler, I just call them comment cowards, but whatever. The 1994 Bulls. People explain the 1994 Bulls as Michael Jordan had this incredible team that, look, they only won 2 less games without him. And never will the media, because I've heard Nick Wright say that exact thing, they will not give the facts and details about it. Chris Broussard, no pushback, no explaining what happened in that season. Nope, just 94 Bulls were only 2 games worse than the 93 Bulls, and leave it at that. I've done a video on this before, but I'm doing it a little different. Okay, so according to Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, any LeBron fan who lives by this as gospel, why don't we get into the details that are omitted from the truth? Just trying to, again, bring down Michael Jordan. That's your goal, right? Well, me and a few other people are here to set the record straight when it comes to Michael Jordan, okay? All right, so the 93 Bulls, true. They were 57 and 25. The 1994 Bulls were 55 and 27. Now, the way they make it sound, and believe me, it's by design, it's the 1994 Bulls are the 1993 Bulls minus Michael Jordan. So it's just that squad without Jordan. Really, that's what happened. Okay, well, so the 1994 Bulls, they added Steve Kerr, who played 82 games and all the playoff games. They added Tony Kukoc, who played 75 games and the playoffs. They added Bill Wennington, who played 76 games and the playoffs. Luke Longley, who got traded at the trade deadline. He played the last 27 games and the playoffs. And Pete Myers, he played all 82 games, started 81 games. He was the 2 guard. Well, before anybody says, well, those are just menial players, that was the strength of the Bulls, was their depth. Steve Kerr was 4th on the team in win shares. Tony Kukoc was 6th in win shares. He was 3rd in PER. Bill Wennington, the number 2 or maybe even number 3 center, was 5th in win shares. Luke Longley was 2nd in defensive box plus minus, and Pete Myers was 7th in win shares. So they went into the 1994 season. At point guard, they had B.J. Armstrong and Steve Kerr. That was basically their point guard, their 2 point guards that played. Their shooting guards were Pete Myers and John Paxson. Okay? And I know some of these guys like Armstrong, Kerr, they played shooting guard too because they shot threes or whatever. But that's how it was set up. You had B.J. Armstrong with Steve Kerr backing him up. Pete Myers with John Paxson backing him up. You had Scottie Pippen at small forward with Tony Kukoc backing him up. You had Horace Grant at power forward with Scott Williams essentially backing him up. I know Corey Blunt played some, but then you still had Bill Cartwright with Luke Longley, Will Perdue, and Bill Wennington at center. This team was deep as hell. So you got B.J. Armstrong, John Paxson, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Scott Williams, Bill Cartwright, and Will Perdue. 7 players that were on all 3 championship teams. Then you add, like I said, Kerr, Myers, Kukoc, Wennington, and Longley. That's what you added. And a lot of these players were key pieces in the second three-peat. I mean, you guys love to bring up Kukoc. 4 Hall of Famers. Don't back up now. Don't start putting Kukoc now. Keep the same energy about what a Hall of Famer he is. Because there's 3 Hall of Famers on this team too, just like the 93 Bulls, right? That's the narrative. So, people will say in that series against New York Knicks in the semifinals that, oh man, it was a bad call, or I think it was Game 7, or the Bulls would have won that series. And actually, it was a foul if you look at it close. But do people also realize that, the infamous play where Scottie Pippen sat out? Tony Kukoc shot the ball from top of the key. It was a 3-point heave, essentially. If he misses that, the Knicks are up 3-0 in that series. So that, you can look at it either way. They could have maybe been swept or beat in 5 games. Now, to an even bigger point to be drove home, why this team looked like it's almost as good. But there's so many factors as to what happened. They upgraded their roster exponentially. That's one factor. But an even bigger factor in my mind is what happened to the Eastern Conference from 1993 to 94. Okay, so the Knicks were the number 1 seed in 93. They were 60-22. They had the number 1 defense. In 1994, they were 57-25, the number 1 defense. They had the same team virtually. They had the same 6-7 players. As the rotational players were all there. The Boston Celtics in 1993, they were 48-34, so they were competitive at least. Probably like a 5 seed, 4 or 5 maybe. Well, in 94, they were 32-50. They got 16 games worse. Well, what happened? Well, they lost Kevin McHale. He retired. And Reggie Lewis, their young budding star, died in the offseason. So they lost 2 very key players, and the record suffered because of it. Now, the New Jersey Nets, they were 43-39 in 93. They got a little better in 45-37 the following season. But they lost Drazen Petrovic, an all-NBA 23-year-old player. Very good three-point shooter. This guy had a very bright future ahead of him. Well, he died, okay? And, you can see how New Jersey got better. They really didn't add much, but the East was so much weaker. Orlando, the one team that made out, they were 41-41 in 93, Shaq's rookie year. Then in 94, they were 50-32. They drafted Penny Hardaway, okay? So that's an upgrade of a team right there. But what about the Cleveland Cavaliers? They were 54-28, the 3rd net-rated team in the NBA in 1993, who the Bulls had to play in the semifinals. Well, they played them in the first round in 94. They were 47-35, okay? And they lost Brad Daugherty 50 games into the season. He got injured, then he retired, all right? They also lost Larry Nance. 33 games into the season, he got injured, and he retired. So they got dramatically worse when you take off 2 of their probably 3 best players. Charlotte Hornets, they were 44-38 in 1993. They had Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Kendall Gill, Muggsy Bogues, good young nucleus. Well, Charlotte traded Kendall Gill, a guy who was a steals leader at one time in his career. He got traded to, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, Seattle or something, I don't know. Anyway, so he's gone. The team got worse, no surprise. Atlanta Hawks, who were 43-39 in 93, were now 57-25 and got the number 1 seed. However, they traded away Dominique Wilkins 50 games into the season for Danny Manning. I mean, what a joke. And anyway, they barely won the first round and got beaten in the second round by the 4-seed Indiana Pacers. Speaking of Indiana, they were 41-41 in 1993. They were the 10th net team at 500. Well, in 94, they were 47-35, but also the 10th net rated team. Well, how'd they keep the same net but got 6 games better? Because the East was weak. And they lost Detlef Schrempf. They traded him for Derek McKee. I mean, Detlef Schrempf, all-NBA level player, multiple All-NBAs in his career, multiple All-Stars. You trade him for Derek McKee. I mean, I guess he's a better defensive player, but whatever. Then you look at the last team that was semi-competitive in the East from 93, Detroit Pistons. They were 40-42 in 93. In 94, they were 20-62. Their win total dropped in half. Why? What happened? Well, Dennis Rodman got traded to San Antonio for Sean Elliott. What a joke that trade was. And, Isaiah Thomas, like 45 games into the season, got injured, retired. So, just to recap, the 94 season from between 93 and the 94, by playoff time, let's call it, these are the players that left the Eastern Conference. Kevin McHale, Reggie Lewis, Drazen Petrovic, Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, Kendall Gill, Dominique Wilkins, Detlef Schrempf, Dennis Rodman, and Isaiah Thomas. You lose all that out of the East. And the only real gain was Penny Hardaway as a rookie. You brought in Danny Manning, Derek McKee, and Sean Elliott. Okay, these are mid-level players. And yet they're replacing all NBA, all defense level players. Top 75 players. I mean, there's several of them. Isaiah, Rodman, Dominique, McHale. I mean, come on, give me a break. Well, in 1993, the East only had 3 teams under 36 wins. That's pretty good. That means the conference is pretty competitive. In 1994, there were now 5 teams with under 36 wins. And I think that the one that had the most was like 31 or 32 wins. Completely different conference. Okay? Now we'll take it one step further. So, what happened in 1995? Why didn't that whole thing continue? 55 wins. Why didn't it continue? They retained Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Will Perdue, Luke Longley, Pete Myers, Bill Wennington, and Corey Blunt. He was on the team too, I guess. So you got 8 of your top 12 players, right? You lost Bill Cartwright. He played 29 games in 95, then retired. He was done after that. He was pretty much done anyway. He was playing limited minutes. He was losing time to Longley and Wennington and Perdue anyway. Scott Williams, the backup power forward, he went to Philly, in center, I guess. He went to Philadelphia. He got more minutes and whatever on Philly. John Paxson retired. Okay, so these really aren't big losses at all. None of them guys. Horace Grant, they lost to Orlando. That was the biggest loss by far. However, they gained Dickie Simpkins. Obviously, he's a journeyman backup. No big deal there. Judd Bushler, decent player, part of the three-peat bench player, not bad. And Ron Harper, he was a starter on the second three-peat. You gained all that, and you really didn't lose anything at all, not even really depth, except Horace Grant was a big loss. Well, the Bulls were 34-31 before Michael Jordan returned. And he was 13-4 in that last stretch at the end of the year. They just didn't have any interior toughness. They had a bunch of unathletic white guys. I hate to say it, but, Bill Wennington, Will Perdue, they just weren't enough. They just didn't have a power forward, a guy to control the boards, control Horace Grant. They just didn't have it. But anyway, that's what happened. And, Jordan, I never make excuses for him getting beat by Orlando, but he wasn't in, his best shape. But hey, he took the floor, and that means he was ready, and he got beat by a better team, but he got beat. Now, in the 95 season, Orlando was 57-25. They were 7 games better than 94. The Knicks were actually two games worse at 55-27. Indiana was 52-30. They were 5 games better. Charlotte was 50-32, 9 games better from the year before. And then, of course, Cleveland fell off, 4 games worse. And Chicago, they were 8 games worse, even with Jordan coming in the last quarter of the season. So the East got better in 95 than it did from 94. So that is an automatic correlation to why the Bulls were 34-31, because the East was better. Orlando, the Knicks, Indiana, and Charlotte, those are your top 4 seeds. They were definitely better than the Bulls were until Jordan got there. And then, they were probably second or third best team. They were not better than Orlando. But anyway, that's about all I got for this video. These facts always get omitted, and the context really matters, especially on this. The 94 Bulls did a great job. They did more by their depth is why they were winning. But let's face it, who really, after Dominique got traded from Atlanta, there was nobody else. I mean, there was Orlando, there was in Indiana, there were moderate threats, but it was really just the Knicks. The Knicks and Bulls were the best two teams in the conference. They played each other. The Bulls lost, okay? That's simple. That's what happened, and, it is what it is. The Bulls had a good team. They were much deeper than the 93 team, much deeper. But the context gets left off of this, making it seem like Jordan was no big deal on those teams or something. And I'm telling you, he was. 94 and 95. Either one, 95 really proves it. When the conference got better, they're 500, who they really were. They lose Horace Grant, but they gain Ron Harper. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. I know these facts never get presented, never get rebutted. I never hear anybody speaking the truth on this season. But these facts are very important because it lays it all out exactly what happened. It wasn't that, they didn't need Jordan. Yeah, okay, they didn't need the GOAT. Gotcha. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and that's it for now.